It was after 2,401 day that India took field in a test match. And what a day it was. It ebbed and flowed like only test cricket can. India were almost chasing the game for the first two sessions before that last session saw England lose 4 wickets. In fact, the turn of the last hour saw them lose 4 wickets for 39 runs. That final session of 4 for 107 and has made the match seem to be on an even note as day one comes to a close. Welcome back to the Outside View Live. We'll talk about what happened in the day's play, and I have with me MD Thirushkamini as well as Ananya Upendran. Your thoughts on the day, ladies? Thirush, you can go first.
I feel it's a fantastic day of cricket. I mean, after really long, we are seeing some cricket that's happening, and I feel that England and India had played some phenomenal game of cricket. I mean, first two sessions we could see some tremendous batting from England, and right after that, you could feel England bouncing back into the game and getting those four good wickets. And the match kind of evenly paced out. I mean, that's the beauty of Test cricket. It's all about winning sessions, and I feel the game today is completely evened out, and I'm really happy to see a good brand of cricket that's been played.
Anya, could they have been any better overall from the point of view of Test cricket, given that India is returning to this format after a long time?
I think it's going to take some time for everybody to kind of get into the whole mode of playing Test format initially. And yeah, initially speaking, I felt that wicket was not much in favor for our Indian bowlers. It was favoring a lot for the English batters. I mean, obviously, I feel it's a good toss to win. And I mean, runs on the board is still runs on the board. So I feel things had really paced out really well. I mean, even in the course of getting the right bowling changes, or especially I was really happy about the way that India had come back into the game. Considering there was a good partnership. I mean, initially in the few overs, we saw Tammy Beaumont and Heather Knight having some good long partnership. And right after that, we had Natalie Skiver and again Heather Knight having a very good partnership. I mean, to get those four quick wickets is what brought us back into the match. So I'm really happy about how the Indians have really got back into the games. I mean, putting us back onto the game. So that is really some exceptional cricket play today.
Ananya, your thoughts on the day gone by?
Well, I guess if I had to sum it up, I would say it was very intriguing day of Test cricket. It was great to see both teams kind of battle it out. It was seesawing. I think towards the end of the middle of the third session, it looked like India were kind of, I suppose, just going through the motions. The day was kind of meandering to a close, but then the Indian spinners, like Trish said, really brought them back into the game, and it was just great to see that fight. And I know the spinners got the wickets, but I think Smriti Mandana coming in under the lid, really putting some pressure on the English batters, starting to talk a lot. I think that kind of built some energy up within the infield, and then it was just a flow-on effect into the bowlers, and then they built some really good pressure.
Yeah, let's look at the batting scorecard for England. Remember, they won the toss and had no hesitation in batting first at the county ground in Bristol. Had a really good start with Lauren Winfield Hill and Tammy Beaumont getting off to a good start. 69 they added, the first time they crossed a 50-run partnership for a long time. And then there was Heather Knight, as Thirush mentioned, that it's a good partnership between Heather Knight and Tammy Beaumont. At that point, Thirush seemed as if India really ran out of ideas, because 66 for Tammy Beaumont, 95 for Heather Knight. That partnership seemed to be, I mean, now you look at the match and you think about that partnership, it kind of seemed like a different era back then.
Definitely. I mean, in fact, initially when Lauren Winfield was batting, I mean, she looked a little tacky. I mean, she was a little dicey, I mean, with her short selections. I mean, she was definitely looking, good in patches, I must say. But on the other end, when Tammy Beaumont was batting, she looked very solid. Right from the moment that she started batting, she looked very compact as a batter. I mean, she was really a tough wicket to crack. So I felt she had displayed a very good batting. And right after that, when Heather Knight and Tammy Beaumont's partnership was very crucial, because I mean, right after you lose one wicket, that partnership kind of set the tone for the score that England had put on board. So I think that partnership kind of put India a little on the back foot. I mean, until I mean, probably the first couple of sessions were like completely not in India's favor, and like how Ananya mentioned, even our bowlers and fielders were going through the motion. I mean, just that two quick wickets right after, I mean, Natalie Sciver and Amy Jones, those wickets kind of brought the momentum for the bowlers, and it kind of set the perfect tone for our Indian fielders as well. The fielders who were fielding in the close-in positions were all cheered up and pumped up. That's the momentum, and that's the kind of atmosphere that one would love to be in. So I felt obviously the initially, however, it kind of planned out. The quick wickets kind of turned it out in our favor.
Yeah, no, let's talk a bit more about Tammy Beaumont. We saw against England that she used that sweep shot really well. We saw that today against the spinners, but against the seamers, she was quite good, confident to kind of use that forward press as well, Ananya. So your thoughts on how Tammy Beaumont faced the innings and how she kind of fared against the seamers as well as the spinners?
Well, I think historically, and we spoke about this in that series against New Zealand as well, that Tammy Bowman has been susceptible to the ball that's coming into her. And then on that tour to New Zealand, we saw the way that she dealt with someone like Jess Kerr, who was moving the ball into her. The fact that she's batting outside her crease, her movements are much more efficient. She's taking a big stride forward, cutting down that swing. And just those little tiny technical changes have made a big difference in her game. I think she looks a lot more compact now at the top of the order. She's not playing around her pad, trying to access mid-wicket too much. She is playing straight down the ground. And I think Trish will, tell us more about this, that as an opener, when you're hitting down the ground, that mid-off, mid-on area, I think it opens up a lot more scoring options, because then the bowlers tend to pull back their length. You get the cut and the pull, like we saw with Shikha Pandey when she wasn't getting, Beaumont playing around her pad. She dug one in short, she got pulled. So, it forces the bowlers to kind of change things up. And just those small technical changes have really opened up, so much for Tammy Bowman. I think she's easily one of the best batters in the world right now, and she's constantly improving, and it's great to see her in the runs again.
Yeah, she's been phenomenal from 2016 across formats in international cricket. But Thirush, tell me, we had in the preview discussed about the ideal way for an opening batter to proceed in conditions in England. Looking at Thirush bat, looking at Tammy Beaumont bat, did she tick all the boxes as a test opener for England?
I felt she was very perfect, and like how Ananya mentioned, she was very compact. The thing that I liked about her batting is she was more aligned as a batter. It is important that initially when you start playing in conditions like England, it's important that you play more closer. And that was something that was really happening very well. I mean, she was trying to allow the ball much closer, and she was trying, like rightly mentioned, I mean, she was trying to play more straighter. Especially when you have Shikha who's coming in and bowling in at you, it's important that you don't try to play a lot on the mid wicket. That would give you a lot more opportunities, to get out LBW. So that was not happening. She was playing a lot more straighter, which made the bowlers to think a little more and then try something more extra. So that was something that, like I mentioned earlier, she looked very compact. But coming back to her batting, I felt she felt a little dicey when the spinners had come on, like right after, especially when she was playing a lot of paddle sweep, and when the sweep shots were on, and when that field was packed on that side, she got a little more. I felt she felt like, I mean, she was more prone to get out, is what I felt, probably because that was the area, especially when you had Rana bowling in and Deepti bowling from two ends. That was something that was troubling her for a couple of overs. Even when she was batting, I felt like, I mean, this was the moment that she's struggling, and things were coming, and even we saw a catch. She was just popping up a few in the forward short leg area. So I felt that was a good change, trying to get your feel right and, packing the place where she was scoring a lot of runs. So that kind of played in her mind, and, try to alter a plan a bit. And, I felt that wicket of Tammy Beaumont was more like we set her to get the wicket. So I think that was a good strategy planned by our players, I think.
And that glance at the scorecard will tell you that Heather Knight missed her second test run by 5 runs. But what a game she's had so far. 100th test as a skipper of England. stage can't get bigger than this because the test match that she's leading the side in, Ananya. But she really looked calm for most part of her innings, and her at almost at ease against the spinners as well. So she was really good, wasn't she? And very, very unlucky to miss out on that test run.
Yeah, I think we saw that video of Heather Knight visualizing the toss yesterday. So everything kind of worked for her from the very beginning. That visualization clearly worked for her. She won the toss, got a chance to bat first. And like you said, I think she looked in control of that innings from the moment she walked in. There was a little bit, I think, at the beginning where she was slightly falling over her front foot. I think that was just the first 10, 15 balls. But then you could see that her feet started moving a lot better. And I think what really stood out to me was, I think it was a late cut that she played off Sneh Rana. I'm not sure whether it was Rana or Deepti Sharma, but it was a really late cut that she played it almost behind her, I think, to pick up her first boundary. And I think that was the shot of the day for me. And I think that for me really showed how much in command she was, just to rock back to a ball that wasn't really wide. It was probably on fourth stump, and then to pick the gap quite beautifully. It was a risky shot, but then I think it was brilliantly executed, and that kind of underlined the control that she had over that innings for me. But again, I think, the pattern with all these English batters was that they were playing back to very, very full deliveries. I mean, it just felt like a matter of time that they would get hit on the pad. I know the pitch was very slow, and therefore they were getting time going back. But with people like Deepti Sharma, with Sneh Rana, they have good arm balls. They're slightly quicker through the air. So, you're always kind of risking it going back. And yeah, I was gutted for her. I think she deserved 100, but yeah, probably not the best decision.
Indeed. Let's look at the bowling scorecard before we get to the phase where the day seems to turn around, because look at that, and the scorecard will tell you that Sneh Rana returned 3 for 77, 2 wickets for Deepti Sharma as well. Thirush, that phase where it almost seemed as if India would boss the day towards the end. It was really, did you foresee it for starters? Because Sneh Rana, of course, probably play when no one expected her to. We expected Ekta Bish to perhaps get a nod, or a Poonam Yadav as well. Were you surprised that Sneh Rana was selected and then to see her perform so well?
I was actually, it was like mentioned earlier, I think it came as a surprise, her addition in the playing 11. But I think she's really grabbed the opportunity really well and made the best of it. And she's bowled exceptionally well today. No doubt that she's got us through back us in the game, because it felt like the game was completely drifting towards the England's way, and Deepti and Sneha Rana has brought us back into the game. So there's no doubt that she is bowled exceptionally well. And I'm also happy with the way that even our pacers also have done well initially. Like for starters, I would like to mention even when Juludi had bowled, I was happy about the fact that they were able to kind of pitch the balls within the stumps and making the batters play as many balls as possible. So that was something that I felt it was really, they kind of set it up for our spinners to come back and, captured most of the wickets. And one interesting fact, I felt like, I think especially when Harry, when she bowled those few overs, you could see that the wicket was, turning a bit. So I think in days to come, you might expect a lot of turn. Now that we see the wicket is slowing down a bit, I'm expecting a lot of turn. And, especially in the second innings of our India, second innings of England, I'm going to see how the wicket's going to behave. Obviously in the first day, if you can see so much of turn, I'm expecting to see what is going to happen in the days to come.
It was 2 for 230 and just about an hour to go. India was lagging, in fact, in the over rate as well. Things didn't look rosy. Ananya, what do you think spurred up the Indians? Because then we saw a phase where not just wickets fell, but the decibel levels in the middle also grew. So what do you think kind of changed in that 5-10 minutes, which kind of enabled India to pick 4 wickets in that final session?
Well, I said it earlier, and I'm going to give her credit for those wickets. Smriti Mandana coming in at short leg. I think she fielded most of that 2014 test at short leg, silly point. She was under the helmet. And just to see her come in, she brought in a lot of energy. She was moving really well. Her positions were very, very low. And just that banter with Heather Knight, it was, we could hear it on the stump mic. I think she told Rana as well once, when Knight kind of went back and played a really dicey back foot punch. She said, "Agar ye out hui to mera wicket hai." So, I mean, basically telling the bowler that I'm taking credit for your wicket. So I think she just kind of instilled a bit of energy in that Indian team. Tanya Bhatia also started talking a little more. And then in the middle, Arundhati Reddy came in. She was very, very loud. She's generally very loud, but close to the stumps, the stump mic just amplified her voice. So I think just that bit of energy that they needed, and somehow they found a wicket. I thought Rana and Deepti both very, very well in tandem. But yeah, I think it was just that energy. I'm giving Smriti Mandhana all the credit. I don't like giving batters the credit, but I think she deserves some credit because she just injected some life into a fielding side that just really seemed very, very flat at that point.
We know how much you like the hashtag Team Pacer, but we have a batter alongside us. So, Thirush, do you agree that the credit should go to the short leg fielder, Smriti Mandhana? And what do you think kind of Sneh, Rana and Deepti Sharma did right in that spell of theirs?
I think as a batter, I mean, having played test matches, I think a lot of credit should go to the players who are doing the forward short legs and silly point, because I myself have done a lot of fielding over there. And, it gets quite tricky because, that especially when you don't have wickets falling, it takes a lot in you to kind of go and field in those positions, because, bowlers are going to try too many balls, to get the wickets in. You might see some of the short balls or full tosses that are coming in, and, obviously you're fielding up front, it gets a little, you need the guts to kind of, willingly go stand there. So I'm going to give a lot of credit for batters to, standing up front, when things are kind of not going in our favor. And then right after that, I felt, especially the thing that I really liked about Deepti and Sneha Rana's bowling is they got the field in the right positions. Initially we don't see much of silly point when it comes to off spinners bowling for right-handers, but I felt that they were trying too many angles. Especially, we saw Sneha Rana trying to bowl from around the wicket and trying to create the angle, which kind of got Heather Knight's wicket. Because initially, when you see an off spinner bowling from a particular angle, you're so used to as a batter, and especially when you played them for quite a number of overs, you are so used to playing them from a particular angle. So I think it was very smart of Sneha Rana trying to bowl from around the wicket and setting the feet accordingly and trying to create the angle and trying to beat somebody. I mean, I would say it's exceptional bowling. When you have a batter that has been scoring so well, the credit go to the bowler, because to beat a batter who's on 95, who played some exceptional inning throughout the day, I think I think they've set her really well, and that's some smart strategy that has been played to kind of get Heather Knight's wicket. And right after that, the cluster of wickets that had fell, be it Natalie's wicket or Amy Jones' wicket. I mean, that was something that had happened, when you're trying too many things. And I think the whatever we had tried, I think it had worked for India. So probably I think the credit I would give it to the spinners like Deepti and Sneha for trying to get your angles, or trying to implement too many things that which they had strategized, right before the game. Or even probably, I mean, even in the fielding side, I had felt like, Sneha had gone out for a bit, and, you had your, the coach giving them some pointers, trying to see what we could do. So probably I think all had put together, and, the strategy worked for India to get those cluster of wickets and put us back on the map.
You just slyly mentioned that you are used to being under the lid around the batters. Tell me, how do you kind of manage to conjure up the courage needed to stand? Because we saw today Poonam Raut began that stint at short
Yes,
leg.
yes.
Then you at various points saw Shafali Verma, Smriti Mandhana, and you could hear through that wonderful quality of some mics that how kind of they were almost a bit petrified, because you heard Smriti saying that now these people had to hit a sweep when I am here. So how do you kind of stand there for the first time, and what tips would you kind of pass on to them if you could?
I think that's the pattern that has happened over the years, when generally you have the bowlers who are bowling in. Obviously, when you have Julandi, or when you have Shikhar, and when you have 5 to 6 main bowlers who are bowling. So obviously, I think the batters who are generally are the ones who stand in short legs and silly point. That is something that has happened over the years. I mean, that's something even you see in men's cricket as well. So I don't think that's something that's happening. I mean, that's something very new. But jokes apart, but I feel like I mean, it's obviously. I mean, when things are not going in your favor as a bowler, you generally try too many things as a bowler, try to pull it up, and you want the batter to commit some kind of a mistake. So those are the moments it gets a little petrified as a fielder to stand up front, because there are going to be some loose balls that are going to come, and one good whack, you could get whacked up there. So that is something, I mean, I've personally felt, even when I had played the Wormsley test before the practice games at Alur, I got hit one in my head, and I had to go for a scan as well. So that I mean, I do have my share of my own experience standing up front, so I can completely understand what must have gone through Shafali and Poonam's and Smriti's mind when they were fielding up front.
Yeah, under the lead.
I'm just gonna butt in here and say that Trish may have been petrified when she was standing under the lid, but I have stood at silly point with bowlers bowling full tosses, and it is the most terrifying thing in the world seeing her step out with that huge backlift. It's like I was like Sharma on the ground before the ball even reached her.
I mean, I think Ananya is being too kind here.
And also the perks of being an all-rounder, because you have to have the negatives of the batting as well as the bowling. You have to bear the brunt of both of those.
Sometimes it really feels, it is good to be an all-rounder when it comes to test cricket, where you don't have to get your shin pads on and, stand up front for the batters. And especially when you see those high backlifts coming, and, when our bowlers are trying to get the wickets, some full tosses coming in, I feel sometimes it's so much better, being a complete all-rounder rather than being an exclusive batter.
Fair point. But the fielder under the lid apart, Ananya, we saw even the slip personnel being rotated. Is it a conscious effort to give everybody, because everyone's kind of new to test cricket, everybody a chance to have an experience of these positions, so that India can have a reliable player to kind of stand in these positions?
I'm not sure. I think that's a difficult question to answer. As far as the slip cordon is concerned, I think the fact that they don't really have a settled or they don't have specialized slip fielders aside from Deepti Sharma in that in that 11. Of course, there is Jhulan Goswami, there is Shikha Pandey, and I think Sneh Rana as well are slip fielders. But again, when Jhulan and Shikha are bowling, they're not going to stand in the slip cordon. Rana will probably be one, but if you have 3 slips and a gully for Jhulan Goswami, you need 3 other people there. You have Deepti and Sneh Rana, but you need 2 other people. So I think they were just trying to figure out who those 2 other people are going to be, because Jemima Rodriguez and Arundhati Reddy, both who are slip fielders, were not playing in the 11. So who do you then put in there? So I think it was just a case of trying to figure out who we can put in there as a stopgap, and until we find someone. And as far as silly point short leg are concerned, I think usually the debutant goes under the lid. Shafali clearly doesn't look comfortable at all, and I think Poonam Raut has done it a lot in domestic cricket, so she was probably the automatic choice.
Right, it was a slow day as we talked about it, because 92 overs were only bowled, and in fact, despite using the extra half an hour of play, and England finished at 269 for 6. What can we look forward to on day 2? Because first up, that glance at the bowling scorecard will tell you that Jhulan Goswami has bowled 18 overs. She's one of the older players in the squad, but she's not bowled the lesser number of overs. The workload management is something we talked about in the preview. Ananya, how much vital it will be on day 2 for India?
Yeah, I think I'm sure like right after the day ended, I'm sure she was gone and she went into an ice bath just to make sure she recovers for tomorrow. But we saw even, towards the end of the day when she did take that new ball, she didn't quite find her radar. She didn't look in the rhythm that she was in at the start of the day. So clearly, her body had cooled down. I think her muscles were starting to get a little sore, and you could tell that. But she's a machine. I think the way she bowled in those first 2 sessions, just hitting that length, getting the ball to nip in, or straighten. It was amazing to watch her. But every time she came in for another over, I could just feel my heart racing and like, please put her on ice because we need her in 2022. And it's just the first day of a 4-day test. It doesn't look like a wicket that's helping the seamers. So just to see her come out, put in, her heart and soul into those overs up front was great, but it was also very, very terrifying. So I'm interested to see how she pulls up tomorrow. I'm sure she will take the new ball again, probably the first over. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how she kind of warms up for that.
Yeah, we talked about India returning to test after 7 years, almost 7 years. Thirush, how well will the openers go back to sleep tonight? Because 269 for 6, you'd imagine that with the second new ball fairly new, the 4 wickets shouldn't take time and the openers will have to step out to bat. So how well will the openers sleep tonight?
I think they must be pretty happy, and they must really recoup well for a good long day of batting session for tomorrow. I mean, we have batters. One interesting fact about our Indian batting, the Indian lineup is that we have. I don't really see a tail-ender in our batting lineup. I think all 11 of them could bat. So that is a very interesting fact, I must add. So I think right after some good 1 hour, probably a good 1 hour of bowling session. If you're going to get those wickets in, I think we might have a good batting session from India tomorrow. So I think we could see India to bat in right after 1 hour of good bowling. We could expect them to get into bat.
Right. Let's bring the fans in a bit because we'd asked questions and you have, for those of you watching, have sent in questions. Here are a few on a segment we like to call Ask #The Outside View. The way Deepti bowled after the 60th over, do you think India could have done better to have her bowl regularly before rather than having her as a before the break, off break bowler? Ananya, that refers to your tweet where you said that she seemed to be the before the break, off break bowler. Your thoughts on Deepti and the way she was utilized today?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that she was brought in to bowl so late in the day towards the end of the first session, and then again bowled only a couple of overs before the end of the second session. But I think that's just a reflection of the form that she's shown in the nets. I think the fact that Rana was picked in the 11 is a reflection that she's probably been bowling the best of those 5 spinners in that Indian contingent. So yeah, I think it's just a reflection of that. But again, Deepti brought in all her experience and she bowled really, really well. Even that first over, I think she was the first one to get any real bite off the surface, one kicked, between the bat and pad. So she did bowl a lot better than I think even the Indian team expected her to. But and they kind of rectified that mistake quite late in the day, but at least they rectified it by giving her a longer spell towards the end of the day. And I think that contribution of hers towards the end of the day really changed the complexion of the game. Whether, it would have changed had she bowled a lot more earlier, hey, we don't know. But I can say that had Shikha Pandey bowled a longer first spell or something like that, maybe that would have helped as well. Because, again, the likes of Natalie Siv are very, very, big LBW candidates when you have someone hooping the ball in. So there are lots of ifs and buts. We'll never know, but she did change the complexion of the game at the end of the day.
There was a question by Cricket Beyond Entertainment. Vaishnavi Srinivasan now asked, do you think Ekta's inclusion could have done the damage earlier? Thirush, what's your take on that? You talked about 2 off spinners, no one taking the ball away from the right-hander. Your thoughts on Ekta's exclusion?
I felt, obviously, Deepti was the inevitable choice in our playing 11. So I think Ekta would have obviously come in place of Sneha Rana. Considering Sneha Rana's bowling, I think she had bowled really well. No doubt. Initially, when we got to see that Sneha Rana was part of the 11, I was a little dicey. Considering they didn't have much left-handers. They don't have any left-handers in the England's playing 11. But I must say that she had bowled some exceptionally great bowling, even getting those crucial wickets of Heather Knight and stuff. So I felt her. Obviously, it is something came as a shocker of not seeing Ekta in the playing 11, but undoubtedly Sneha, who had replaced her in the 11, I felt she did an exceptional job and justified her position in the playing 11.
Right. Anirban Chakraborty asked, how costly could those dropped chances turn out to be. We saw a couple of catches go down early first up when I guess Priti Mandana dropped one in the slips and then Deepti Sharma. Do you think that had any bearing on the game? Could the game had a different look had that catches been taken? Ananya, you can take that.
I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, both the batters were dismissed. Winfield Hill did a bit of damage with those two big sixes, but I don't think that her drop really didn't cost India that much. Sivers again, I think Sharma came in and kind of redeemed herself. So I don't think the drops affected us probably as much as they could have. But again, I think it just kind of added to that flat period of play at the start. Had we gotten Winfield Hill earlier, it was a wicket that would have gone to Jhulan Goswami. Imagine the fire that she would have bowled with, So I guess again it's ifs and buts, but I don't think the drops cost India as much as they could have.
Right then, day one is done and dusted. 269 for 6 is what England finish at after winning the toss, choosing to bat first. Before we close the show, that virtual prediction has to go around. And Thirush, it comes to you being the opener. What score do you see England getting bowled out for tomorrow?
I would say anything less than 300. I think it's really good for India because, I mean, the lesser runs that you have, I mean, now that we see the wicket is slowing down a bit, I mean, the lesser runs is better for India. So anything less than 300, I think it's a good target for India. I mean, considering they've already done, considering from the position where England were, from 230 for 2, if you're able to get them below 300, I think that is something that would be perfect for India to, start the first innings.
Yeah, the batters will have that short sleep, I'd imagine. And then coming to you, bowlers, 3 wickets for Sneh, Rana, 2 for Deepti Sharma, 4 wickets to go. Do you see anybody picking up a 5-for? And what do you think England will end up with tomorrow?
Well, I would love for Sneh Rana to pick up a 5-for. I think it would just be a wonderful story out of the team for so long back in. And it's just been a wonderful return. So I would love for her to pick up a 5-for. I would also love for Jhulan Goswami and Shikha Pandey to be in the wickets. To just feel, I feel for them not being on the board yet. So I would love for them to pick up a couple of wickets. But England have a bit of batting left. They have some experience in that lower order, all capable batters. So I'm gonna say they'll probably get wrapped up for around 325.
Below 300 and 325. That's the range, ladies and gentlemen. The score that England will get on day 2. That's it from day 1 of the first test match. In fact, the one-off test match between England and India from Bristol. Remember to join in before the match tomorrow, 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 9:30 a.m. GMT for the Hindi pre-match show. And of course, we'll be here after the day's play to dissect what went right, what went wrong with these 2 ladies. Thanks, Thirush. Thanks, Ananya. Everybody will see you tomorrow on the Outside View Live.